We do want to bring in national trial attorney Michael Jaafar to talk about what we're seeing here. Michael, I would like to get your initial reactions to these motions, but even just a bigger question here. You see Karen Read's attorneys, they are really advocating for her, putting forth these legal arguments. This takes time, this takes energy, a lot of research. Then you could have someone else that's accused of a crime. They have the public defender who has a huge caseload, doesn't have this kind of time to put into the case and serve as great as an advocate as Karen Read has here. It kind of shows the unfairness sometimes of our criminal justice system.
You know what I was wondering? I'm glad you brought that up, Kelly. You know what I was wondering when he was making his oratory? Who's paying for all this?
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so you're thinking the same thing. Where's the funding? I mean, that's some high-end legal work. You know, corporate defendants have that. Corporations have attorney. You know, when you're on the civil docket, you see attorney. Every single motion hearing looks just like this in the you know, corporate dockets, right? You rarely see it in the criminal dockets. I've got to assume that there's funding coming from them. Those are some high-powered lawyers making some high-powered arguments. He's filing motions that are deep, diving into the depth of the legal jurisprudence in Massachusetts, and he's trying to pierce several veils and accusing that the lead investigator for the state has had, you know, the communications he has had with other investigators should be given to the defense because of a vast conspiracy. I was on the show with Ted when this case first broke many months ago, not a year ago, but close to a year ago. And I was fascinated by it. That was the motion where he had brought up the picture of the cuts on the hand and said these are glass cuts, these are dog bites. These did not happen by somebody being run over by a truck. And that was the first time the public had heard that there was an argument that there was a cover-up. And at that point, I dismissed it. I said, "There's no way. I mean, a cover. I mean, you see this in movies. You don't see it like in real life. But it looks like this guy is really piercing the veil, and he's doing phenomenal legal work. I mean, you need a case like this every 10 years, I guess, to remind the public that, hey, sometimes there is corruption. It hasn't been proven yet. But yeah, those motions today, I started thinking, who's paying for all this? And I was researching it on my own, and I was like, wow, yeah, there's something that stinks here. And you know, I'm glad he's fishing into it. Look, he might be wrong. There might be no cover-up. This might end that way, and we will still look back at the work he's done in this case, and other investigators in other cases will look at it and say, you know, let's take a page from what could happen if we are not careful in our investigation. An attorney like this could pop up and expose it. Let's walk the line carefully. So there's a lot of downstream ramifications by what he's doing.
Mm-hmm. There is a Karen Read Legal Defense Fund that you're welcome to contribute to. And you remember back when she wanted her bail money back when she was dropped down to a signature bond because, and one of the arguments was to pay for this defense. So that's where some of the money's coming from. But to your points, it's expensive if you're going to put on a defense like the one that we're witnessing here. Michael Jaafar is still with us. Michael, there seems to be so much reasonable doubt here between the phone information, the Google search, how long does it take someone to die from the individual inside the house, the dog bites on the arm, or the injuries on the arm that could be dog. Do you think that at the end of the day the Commonwealth may drop these charges before going to trial? Because it looks like they're going to lose.
I don't think they can at this point. I agree with you that they're probably regretting the charges. I would not be shocked if they have not reached out to the defense counsel to see if they could strike some sort of a plea. But I think both sides, this is a standoff where neither side can flinch at this point. You think about it like this: Karen Read cannot take a plea at this point with what she's done publicly, and she has the defense fund and people supporting her. But the state cannot drop the charges. I agree with you, Ted. I mean, I'm sure they wish they could, but they can't. Let's just say they drop the charges, you know, tomorrow or next week. This will look really, there will be an internal investigation by the FBI into that entire department. People will go to jail from that if they drop the charges, right? There will be an investigation that will span years. Why did you drop these charges after you were accused of covering up a murder? by your own police officers of another police officer, hypothetically speaking, if they drop the charges. So I don't think they have a choice. I think they have to move forward. Like right now, they're fighting this motion, and they're invoking her right of privacy on the messages, which she does. But if it's outweighed in Massachusetts, if it's outweighed by a defendant's right to a fair trial, if a defendant can prove that we need these in order to defend ourselves from a murder charge, the judge can grant it. And even the judge didn't rule on the motions today. She had to take them under advisement, and I'm sure the judge is looking for cover. I'm sure the judge is looking for a clerk in her office to give her the case law and for her to have a very well thought out, well written opinion one way or the other. The judge cannot win in this case. This is the opposite of the judge earlier with the guy who lunged at her like a pat. That judge was a misdemeanor judge. This judge is actually a felony judge. She's got to make a ruling. It's not going to be good. This whole thing stinks.
Yeah, and I'm going to like to hear the defense counsel's argument about the motion to dismiss, and then, of course, what the state is going to have to say. But I'm with you, Michael. The state has to just continue moving forward with this. I mean, they're in too deep right now. If they just say, oh, okay, here's a plea, I mean, it just kind of blows everything.
Can't you just say, all right, we don't think we're going to win. We're going to save the Commonwealth some taxpayers' dollars. We still think she did it, but let's cut bait.
Yeah, the taxpayers have a lot more dollars than the Karen Reed Defense Fund. I can promise you that. So they're done. They're stuck, and that courtroom looks like it's worth like $100 million. I mean, this whole thing is this is the grandest of stages in the criminal defense world. So yeah, they're stuck. There's a saying in the airline industry when a plane cannot safely abandon a takeoff. I forget what it's called. Where once a plane goes to a certain velocity, it has to take off. It cannot safely abandon the takeoff. That's where this case is right now. They cannot safely abandon this
point
takeoff.
of no return.